Alright. What the fuck's up, YouTube? This is Crew Dog Gamer, bringing another episode in the infamous series of Fishing Planet for Dummies, episode 6, I think. Excuse me, I am drinking an ice cold Pabst Blue Ribbon, and it has got my burps coming along. So, one thing I have noticed in the comments and in a few Steam posts is people do not know how to set up a rod, or they have problems setting up a rod, and I'm going to try and cover everything I can think of and how to set up a rod on Fishing Planet. I covered a little bit in my Fishing Planet Beginner's Guide, but that is a little bit dated, so it's not necessarily the best indicative stance. It will cover the main three types that you need to mess with, and I'm actually going to go home so I can show everybody everything, because I have all my shit at the home location. So what we're going to talk about is what types of reels go with what types of rods, go with what types of lures slash lines slash bobbers, hooks, leaders, weights. I mean, I'm going to fucking dig into this shit real hard. So what we're going to run into first, sorry, I'm checking a text from my girlfriend. We're going to talk about the most basic rod you can set up, and that is a spinning rod. Just about everybody will start off the game with a spinning rod. It's going to be a very small one. I don't even think I have one anymore. If we go to the shop, we look at rods, not that. Rods, spinning rods. So the value spin 6.3 is the cheapest item in the shop. You have to be a level 3 to get it. So that is going to be the beginner lure rod. And I say lure rod because you have three main types of rods: lure rods, bottom fishing rods, and bobber fishing rods. So your main lure rod when you first start the game is going to be in this category. If we go over to our casting rods, the requirements are about the same. Most people are going to go to the spinning rod first, because when you start the game you already have a spinning reel. Now a spinning reel looks like this. I'm sure you guys can see that rather clearly. So this is going to be an underspin reel or a spinning reel, and they're going to go on spinning rods. Now, in order for you to make this a setup at all you have to do is add any kind of lure to it. So if we go to the shop, we just click on lures. So the lowest level, cheapest lure you're going to be able to get is a slop spoon. Not a bad bait. You can catch a lot of pike off of it. You can catch bass off of it. But I would prefer the casting spoons, just because I think they catch more fish. But you're also going to have mini bass jigs, jig heads. You're not going to be getting into topwater or crankbaits or any of that stuff. We're talking about how to set up a rod, not about lures. I'll cover lures in another video. So a spinning rod and a spinning reel will make a lure setup. You will be able to cast all manner of lures, from bass jigs to spinners to spoons to spinner baits to topwater like poppers to crankbaits. You're going to be able to throw all of those with a spinning rod and a spinning reel, and all you have to do to make it all cohesive together is add line to it. And in my beginner's guide video, I talk about line weight applying to the line that you put on your rod and reel, and how you want to try and correlate those all together. So all you have to do is put line on the rod. I usually just max that fucker out, because why not? Unless you're low on money and you're trying to split it between a couple different rods, I usually put as much line as I can on there. It doesn't affect anything as far as casting distance or anything, so you might as well. Now when your line wears out, you're going to have to put, you're going to lose a heavier amount of line. But if you latch into a big ass fish, it's going to be easier to fight if you have more line, or you're not going to lose the fish or break your rod because you reach the end of it, most likely. And I'll talk about lines in another video as far as the breakdown of all the lines. But once you have your line on there, you can select any of these bazillions of reels, I'm pretty sure, or lures that I have. I mean, I have tons of them. I've got fucking pages and pages and pages of crankbaits and poppers and frogs and spinners. You can pick any one of those fuckers that fits the weight requirements of your rod and put it on there, and you have a lure setup, a basic lure setup. Now, if you're a basic fisherman, you're just starting, I would suggest a mini bass jig or a nano spoon or even a lightweight casting spoon. All of those are going to be more geared towards, your level 3 through 15. So, let's talk about a casting rod. My favorite rod, because it's what I use in real life, and I don't know, I like it more in the game for crankbaits and topwater and stuff like that. Anything that I fish steadily or on top of the water, I like having a casting reel. And it's the same principle. If you have a casting reel and a casting rod, and you follow the same steps as the spinning reel and spinning rod, you will obtain a lure fishing rod. I don't really feel that they pose any greater advantage to spinning rod fishing, other than I think spinning rods fish bottom stuff better, like jigs, and really bass jigs too, but spoons and spinners, I think the spinning rods work better for those, just because it's an underfed. It really doesn't matter. So if you follow those same steps as in the spinning rod, you will obtain this. You will obtain a lure rod. So any questions about that, please let me know. So let's talk about a bottom fishing setup. So I have two different bottom fishing setups. So here I have a feeder and here I have a sinker. So in order, the things you're going to need to make a bottom fishing setup are, we'll go to the shop and I'll show you, a bottom rod or a feeder rod, one of the two, right? And you're going to need the bottom rods are obviously better for sinker fishing, and the feeder rods are better for feeder fishing. It's not that complicated, right? You're going to be able to understand that. And we can talk about quiver tips and all that other types of shit in the other ways. We're going to talk about what you need to make the rod work. So when you get a bottom fishing or a feeder fishing rod, you're going to need line. So pick your line. You're going to need a leader, which is this right here. And I'm pretty sure if I go to my backpack, my lines, I'll be able to show you what they look like. Here are all my mono leaders. You go to the shop, you go to lines, you can go to leaders, boom, there's all your monofilament leaders. So you're going to need a leader. You're going to need a hook, obviously. You're going to need either a feeder or sinker. You're going to need one of the two on one of these rods. You're going to need it. You can't make the rod without it. And you're going to need a bait. You do not need chum. Even if you're fishing with a feeder rod like this, you do not need chum. You just need the feeder basket. So understand that you don't need the chum, but the feeder basket is fucking useless without it. It serves the same purpose as a weight, but you don't get any advantage out of it. So if you're planning on just bottom fishing, buy sinkers. Don't even fuck with the feeders, because there's no point in buying them when they allow water to pass through them and they drift more easily. Just buy sinkers if you're going to do that. If you plan on feeder fishing in lakes and stuff like that, buy the feeders. Whether it be a closed like this or open feeder like this, like what I have selected here. Now, on both of these rods, you're going to have the option, let's see if I have some in my inventory, of attaching a bell. Now the bell is going to alert you when the tip of your rod is moving. So you can attach the bell, but you do not need it. Alright, if you guys have any questions on bottom fishing, feeder fishing rods and reels, let me know. One thing I think I forgot to add, you are going to need a spinning reel. You cannot do it with a casting reel. You have to have a spinning reel on one of these rods. I think I forgot to mention that. Now, bobber fishing is a pretty similar thing. You're going to need a spinning rod, or excuse me, we'll go over here, either a match rod or a telescopic rod. Match rods and telescopic rods make bobber setups. You're going to need one of those. You're going to need a spinning reel, line, a bobber, like this here. The chubby is what I usually use, but you can use the slim. There's a few other ones. I think they're all in my home inventory. Ball bobbers, chubbies. They have Sport X ones, pear-shaped, X-Series float. You can use all fucking kinds of them. Get whatever one you need for the weight of the bait that you're using, and you're gonna need a hook. Once you have all that put together, then you have a bobber setup. I tried to keep this video under 10 minutes, but I get too deep into explaining all this shit. So take what you want out of this video and apply it to your Fishing Planet needs. If you guys have any questions about any of this shit, please let me know. I want to answer. I want to help you guys. So let me know, and I'll see you guys later. Keep it crew.